You're now tuned into the Real Rap Radio Show. I'm your host, Walil Archer on Down to Hot Radio. I have my special guest with me today, DW Dukes. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Doing fantastic. So glad to have you.
It's great to be here.
And let's talk about your book. Let the listeners know the title of your book.
My most recent one would be In Search of the Golden Chalice, the untold story. That's the title.
And how did you come up with that title?
Well, it's based upon history in West Africa that really isn't well known to anyone because during the transatlantic slave trade, there was an effort to suppress African history and to portray African people in a negative way. Because if Europeans were fully aware of what was going on, they would not have supported the slave trade. So this was a gimmick that they used to get slavery to go forward. So what we called it In Search of the Golden Chalice because they began in search of a chalice, and actually it was to drive the Atlantic slave trade from West Africa.
And what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I write books on racism largely for high school students and related topics that we think would be helpful. And we started this as a book for children. And then I encountered an excellent artist who does all types of artwork named Taisha Law. And began sending me pictures. And the more we put the pictures together with the book, we decided to make it a full-length novel. So that's how it evolved into a full-length novel.
Okay, and let's talk about it. What inspired you to focus on racism in your books?
Well, I'm an attorney. I've done human rights work, civil rights work my entire career as an attorney, largely in the Middle East and the different parts of the world, and of course in the United States as well, because that's where we are. And so it's always been an issue of mine. And I feel that writing biographical novels that can be made into motion pictures and so on is really the best way to reach young people as they're maturing and to teach them that there's a better way than the racist behavior that plagued the world for centuries.
Now, do you get any pushback with writing these books?
Once in a while, I wrote a book about Jesse Washington, who was a young man lynched in Waco, Texas. I wrote a story about him, and AP Wire did not want to run an ad on it because they said it was too controversial. Typically, though, no. Most people want when they first see it, they're kind of taken back a little bit, but then when they read the book, they say, this is important. It needs to come out. People need to be aware of this.
Now, how long did it take you to write your most recent book?
Well, I'm almost ashamed to say it took me about 2 weeks, 6 weeks.
Okay, and that's long for you. 6 weeks is a long time.
Well, it was quicker because I'm working full time. I have a law practice as well. So, most people say, well, it took me 2 years to write that novel, but this one just kind of flowed. So, it's quicker than normal.
Okay, now how many chapters would you say is in this book?
Oh gosh, I think around 20 or so. It's a full length novel. It's about 80,000 words.
Okay, now what do you want the readers to take away from reading your book?
Well, the most important thing is something that has existed. It's been taught in every major religion of the world. And that is, as human beings, we need to be empathetic. We need to always think about how are my actions making that person feel? And this is something that we just don't do. We just don't do this in the world. And I think this is the main problem. So the idea is that I would like for people to learn that empathy is a desired trait. And of course, that doesn't mean you have to let people walk all over you. Learning that balance is what's important. But the important thing is to always be aware of how what I'm saying or what I'm doing might affect that person and cause him to feel. That's what I would like people to take away. And also to correct the false narrative about the African slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade. I think we saw a picture of that is not accurate. In West Africa, the transatlantic slave trade could not get in. And again, this is what this book addresses. King Ajabo and his daughters and nephew, they fought the Atlantic slave trade and actually pushed them out of West Africa in 1617. And they were not able to come back until the late 17th century. and they never did get established in that part of of Africa the way they did in other places. It was never apartheid in West Africa, so they forcefully kept them in bay much more than other parts of Africa. So I'd like people to know that we've had a false narrative that we grew up with about the African slave trade, and more importantly, about the African people in general. This is not the view that we get from history is not an accurate portrayal of who the African people were. So these are things that I just want people to think about, and they don't have to agree with me, but just think about these issues. That's my goal.
Any challenges with writing this book?
Um, Not really. This one was very simple and very easy to write. I was speaking with a lot of people in West Africa and getting culture and information from them about what happened and what their version of the story was. And so that's how the book came together, that along with the research. And one of the books I recently wrote, again, the Jesse Washington story, I wrote with a young man who just finished his master's degree at Arizona State, but he's in West Africa, and he's a historian of the transatlantic slave trade and Jim Crow era. So for him to help me with the information was very easy. His name is Taiwo Fagbahungbi. And then we used a couple of models for the book. Taiwo served as one of our models in the Chalice book. And then Oluwatobi Jagade, a young woman, served as a model for one of the characters in the book. And Bijai Oluwatobi, Luadolapo Jagade, and Bijai Oluwatobi. Those were the three models. And so when you read the book, you have pictures of people, every few pages of what they're doing. And a lot of people really enjoy that. With the ebook, you actually get a full color picture. And a lot of people tell me they love the artwork in the book.
Okay, so you also have an ebook for it.
Yes, ebook, and that's mostly what we're selling in Africa because money's tight in certain parts of the world, and so we're helping them get the ebook, and so I'm really happy that we can do that.
When writing this book, did you face writer's block at any time?
No, what, my head's so full of nonsense that I can just pour it out. So I never had that problem with it.
Talk to me about your creative process. How did you creatively write this book?
Well, I was talking to one of my publishers, and I'm doing a series for high schools called the Awareness Series. And the series addresses different issues that are important to high school students, or should be. One of them, of course, is racism, the racism awareness. Another one is situational awareness. I'm writing that with David Kahn. He's the chief U.S. instructor for Israeli Krav Maga. We're writing that book together. But these books are designed for high school students and college, just focus them. So what happened, we were going to write my books, a lot of them have stories. And so we were going to write a storybook for that age group. And then it just evolved when I started seeing Taisha's artwork. It just kind of blossomed.
Any plans for the next book?
Yes, I've got about three more in the works, and there's going to be a sequel to the Golden Chalice book that we just did. So yes, I do have.
Awesome. And where can people purchase your book from?
In the United States, most people just like to get it at Amazon. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of the bookstores can get it, but Amazon is probably the easiest for most people since most people are buying from Amazon anyway today.
Okay. And as we begin to close out, any final thoughts or closing remarks?
I just want people to just, you know, get past all of the differences. We're so focused on our differences today. And I've seen our country, for example, just fall apart in many ways because there's so much adversity between people. We need to get rid of identity politics. We need to come back to a level of reason, and we need to think about each other and what I am doing, how it affects other people. That would be my message.
Great message. Great message. Well, DW Dukes, I'd like to thank you for doing the interview today.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So that's my time today on the Real Rap Radio Show. And I'll see you guys next time on the Real Rap Radio Show with Walil Archer on Downtown Radio. Peace and blessings, everyone.